this is to welcome you all to my YouTube channel, Animals and Pets with Partha. Today I am going to talk to you in this episode about a very important topic called the Ring Steward. The Ring Stewards in a dog show play a very vital role. In most dog shows around the world, usually dog judges who go to judge the dog show are not allowed to mix freely with the people because most of them would be exhibitors, and other exhibitors may not like the judge to be speaking to a certain section of the exhibitors. So it is the ring steward who is allowed to be with the judge the entire day and actually look after all his needs. In fact, go with him for lunch and maybe all the tea breaks and everything. So the ring steward is very, very closely associated with the judge throughout the day or the days of the dog show. And the ring steward is supposed to be an unbiased person who would not in any way try to influence the judge in whatever way to put up or put down any dog that the judge is going to judge. The judge who is going to perform his duties independently and as per his knowledge and discretion. The ring steward is just supposed to assist him to get the dogs into the show ring and then line them in the order the judge wants them, and to check all the absentees and the present dogs and inform the judge. And there are other little things like whether the judge is going fast or whether the judge is going slow and various other things that but nothing that relates to which dog to be placed or unplaced. But then what happened is in the earlier days when the dog shows, when I started judging about 40 years back, there were very few dog shows in India, or very few dog show centers in India. And those centers were centers that were actually started by the Britishers, like the shows in Bombay, up in Uttarakhand, then Calcutta, Delhi, Mysore, Bangalore and things like that. And most of the places were just starting to have dog shows. And in earlier days, only a very small section of the people, mainly the, before the independence, of course, there were the British people and, of course, the elite Indians and some rich Indians who participated at dog shows. Of course, the Nawabs, the Maharajas and the likes. But then what happened is, with the advent of when we became an independent country and the dog shows started flourishing, people started making money. They went into start of new businesses, and people started becoming empowered. So dog shows also becoming very, very popular. And then, of course, as we know, the last 2 decades or a little more, we have been under the siege. The dog game has been under the siege of a syndicate, and the syndicate, who has actually spread his wings and has got an array of psychophants around him. With them, he runs the dog game in this country, the main dog scenario. Of course, there are other clubs which I have always said they run very decent dog shows in Bombay, called the Indian National Kennel Club, for a long, long time. And then, of course, we have the United Kennel Club in Punjab. But then this the syndicate, what he did, he realized immediately with the advent of people making money, and there were a lot of people wanting to win dog shows. And usually rich people, they have a way, if they can pay and get something done, they will always do that. So it was easy because the syndicate was up for sale, and he was willing to sell the dog game to any takers. So there were lots of people who volunteered and started. Initially there were only a couple or so, and they manipulated all the dog shows by paying money to the syndicate. And the syndicate, on the other hand, actually organized shows and started clubs and gave licenses to people to run dog shows, who would actually listen to the syndicate and would take judges from him, and those judges would put up exactly the dog that the syndicate would point out. But in that case, there was a problem. because the judges were usually from other countries. And what happened was they had to be told which dog to put up and which dog to put down. So in that circumstances, he realized that he must have a sort of battery of ring stewards who are very obedient to him. So he goes around all across India, jet setting from one part to the other, and organizing lavish sort of extravagant examinations for ring stewards. And these ring stewards were majority of these people who were actually called over to hotels, and they were tested or whatever, and then they were given and then the young ladies, young men all became ring stewards, and they were told that this is the final step, and after this you just become a dog show judge. You become an all-week judge straight away. So most of the people went running to get this very important examination with their own dogs, red dogs, champions, nothing, But then this was the criteria, and they were just one step behind becoming an all-week judge. So they were very happy, everyone was very happy. And then what actually transpired was these ring stewards were performing the job of a bridge between the syndicate and the judge. So they were the people who were communicating to the judge as to which dogs we put up and which dogs we put down. So in this case, lakhs and crores of rupees were spent by people, and the syndicate got all their dogs winning. That was a great experience. And we have all been facing the heat of what has been happening, and the dog game has dwindled in popularity all across the country, and everybody knows it's the most corrupt dog game in the world. Well, I'll tell you an incident for many years ago, which is a true story, of course, and of course I'll not tell you the exact details and names of people, because I avoid sort of just arousing any sort of controversy. And but then I'll tell you the incident possibly was in New Zealand, and the person in the New Zealand person who actually told me all this is a very senior judge, a very respected personality all over the world, and everybody knows him all across the globe. And there was a gentleman in the Bombay, a businessman, and who came to the dog game, and he met the syndicate, and he became very close friends of syndicate, and he said, I have to become a judge. He had lots of money. I said, no problem, whatever money you need I'll give, but you have to make me a dog show judge. But then he never had great dogs. He only had dogs that he kept in the factory, and they were just ordinary dogs. None of them won. But then he realized, but that was his condition, was I had to become a judge, and he had lots of money that he was willing to spend. So what he did was, the syndicate, what he did was, he requested me to send some dogs over from Calcutta for 2 months or 3 months during the show season, and they will be shown and returned back. So I sent this Pekingese from Mr. S. Das, and of course I could have told you the full name. In that case, a few people, the old people, would understand, immediately. But I'm just keeping that little bit of suspense in the name. Is Mr. S. Das. I took his Pekingese and sent it over to Bombay by flight, and the syndicate made all the necessary document that the dog was bred by this Bombay person, and he was the breeder owner, because that was the requirement of this Pekingese dog, and the Pekingese became a champion, and in the name of the person who was wanting to become a judge. He was a very nice gentleman, this man from Bombay. And then, of course, I sent the Spitz over and all that, and that also was again a breeder, owner, and champion. So all this happened, and the gentleman was given a judge. Of course, there was no opposition. Whatever the syndicate said, everybody agreed, and he got the judging license. Then, of course, the person said, well, I'm now a judge, now I must wear a hat and go around dog shows and judging internationally. So the syndicate I had to give in, and he arranged this gentleman to go to New Zealand for a dog show run by a friend of his. But then it's a custom that a lot of these people in the dog world, like this time, that judge from New Zealand, whom I have said is a very respectable lady, he opted to host the Indian judge. And then he got a request from the syndicate here that please, he doesn't know much dogs, please tell him something about dogs before he goes to the show. So this gentleman arrived in New Zealand about a week before the show was to start, and he went, and when I went, that lady told me that, see that sofa, that place you see, there's a big, he was a big man, this man from India, and he went and he sat in that place the moment he arrived here, and for 7 days he possibly never got up from that place except for the time that he went to sleep. And then every day he used to sit there, and in the beginning I brought out the books and I started to explain to him about dogs. But then I realized immediately that all that I said went over his head. He never understood anything about dogs that I talked to him. So I was quite perturbed, and I decided that I have to be a ring steward and somehow manage the affair. So what happened was, she being a senior person, she requested to be the ring steward for the Indian judge, which was of course allowed by the committee. And then for 2 days, this lady was actually, they had worked out on a signaling system whereby the Indian judge was just putting up dogs that this lady was signaling to him, and first, second and third. So for 2 days the show went on, and there were certain people who actually discovered it and told the ring steward before leaving. He said, this is the first time we are being awarded, given awards by the ring steward. But then at the end of the day too, the best in show time, the group judging was to happen, and the ring steward was changed. So here the best in show steward usually are different. So this Indian judge was at a loss as to what to do, because he had so many terriers and he had to pick up 2 dogs. So he started walking up and down, and he started thinking what to do, but he could not get himself to point at 2 dogs. First, and the winner of the terrier group and the runner-up of the terrier group. Then finally, all the officials started walking in and was telling him, what is your problem? Can we help you, and this, that, and what not? Then finally, the this Indian judge mustered some courage, and he said, sky blue. So the sky blue actually is two words, and it meant 2 dogs. It's sky terriers, sky, and curry blues, blue. So that was his judgment. What a fantastic combination he finally came up with. And somehow, India became a laughing stock, because he never remembered the names of the terriers, and that's why he couldn't place 2 dogs. Finally, he was able to remember 2 halves of the name. One is Sky and one is Terrier. So this is the way that our India has been shamed by this syndicate in the international scenario, and it is up to us now to repair all the damage. It is for posterity that we must do it. It is for the younger generation that we must get together, and we must get rid of the syndicate and psychopaths who've been looting this dog world day in and day out. So let us, all dog lovers, all clubs, and everybody should realize India is a vast country with possibly one of the is the second highest populated country in the world, and it has 28 states and 8 union territories, so making it a total of 36. And each of these 36 states now are capable to have a kennel club of its own, and they should all send their representative to formulate or have a parent body that is the dog game of India. So it is time for us to think ahead. We are not in this nonsense stage anymore. We are a vast, vibrating country with a lot of opportunities, a lot of empowered people. Plenty of people can own anything. It's a country of a lot of rich people who own dogs, and most of these people, all these dogs that we have learned are actually from the Britishers, from the British era. So we have a culture of hundreds and hundreds of years of dog culture, I might say, in this country. So please subscribe to my channel, press on the bell button, and then like and share it. And I will come back again in my next episode with a new subject. And of course, a lot of things about Ring Stewards also need to be spoken. And I promise I'll bring everything to you in a short while, in episode after episode. Be tuned with me and see you till then. Good night.